Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started. So super excited that you guys are here, you folks, you fabulous people. It's International Women's Day, so I better not say you guys. I'm really glad that you're here, and I want to say super warm welcome. Thank you to the folks I know for showing up. Thank you to the folks I don't know for just being willing to check out this practice together and to explore some movement together in honor of International Women's Day. In case you don't know me yet, of course, I introduced myself in the introductory email, but I'm Blythe Stevens. I'm based here in Cologne, Germany, so it's super cool that there's people sort of all over the place on here right now. And I am an MFA. I use they and she pronouns. I am the creator of A Life Coach, and I help multi-passionate creatives stand through their difficulties. One of the ways I do that is through yoga and movement education. So please go ahead and get as comfortable as possible, making sure I don't miss any of my important points here. Everyone can see and hear me. The video is on to whatever extent that you would like. It's helpful for me to get that feedback, but it's totally fine if you want to be anonymous as well. And it sounds like all of the microphones are off. And if not, make sure to turn off your microphone unless you've got a question, and then go ahead and let me know, and I would love to answer it either in the chat or with sound. And a quick disclaimer, I'm not a health professional or a physician, so please take the advice of your own professionals when it comes to your own self-care, and listen to your body as we go through this practice. And I'll be encouraging you along the way to choose the varieties and the variations of the pose that best suit you in this particular moment. And since this is a practice that is specifically in honor of International Women's Day, I just wanted to share that International Women's Day statement with you all again today to sort of set the tone for our physical practice. It is, imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination. A world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Collectively, we can all embrace equity. And you and I know that equity, just like physical balance, is a thing that is not a static state that is accomplished once and for all. It's a thing that takes practice and constant adjustment, and that's what we'll be embodying today in the practice. And I invite you also to come into your space, settle in, and choose an intention for yourself to be the guiding light of your own practice. Let it be one word that resonates and inspires you. Maybe that's equity, love, or compassion, some of the themes that are very present to us on a day such as today. Or maybe it's something personal to you and repeat it in your mind a couple of times now. Or if you're in the right space for it, you can also repeat that out loud. I'm so glad you are all here today with me to practice. I'm so excited to see someone introducing themselves in the chat, and I'll be getting back to the chat at the end of our physical practice for any questions that you place there. You're all very welcome. And I'm super honored that you're here. If you're comfortable with it, go ahead and close your eyes or softly focus them in front of you. Bring your attention to where you're meeting with that which is supporting you, with the seats beneath you, the floor, the ground. And then allow your architecture of the body from that stable structure of support to grow up, just like here, at least in Cologne in the spring. The flowers are starting to build roots down into the ground. The worms are moving, and the sprouts are starting to come up above the earth, even through the snow we had yesterday. Allowing yourself to be completely supported by the ground below you. Now bring your attention to the breath as it's naturally flowing. As you breathe in, I invite you to draw in energy that's going to fuel your intention for this practice and for your activity that will come in the future. And as you breathe out, you can let go of anything that's in the way of that intention. So repeating to yourself again, your personal intention as the breath flows. Sitting comfortably onto the ground in cross-legged seat or reclining, sitting firmly onto your chair, or even standing. We notice again the roots of energy drawing down, fueled by the breath. And then we'll bring that up into outward expression with our next movement. As we inhale, I invite you to bring the arms out to the side or in front of you like wings, floating up. And with your exhale, you let the arms sink back down, slowly following the breath to your side. You're starting to bring that intention out to the outer edges of the body through the fingertips as you inhale. Out as you exhale. One more time, raising the arms just as high as you like, as high as you can on the well of that wave of that breath. And let it sink back down on the exhale. With your next inhalation, I invite you to take the extension that you get from that big deep inhale over to the side for a side bending stretch. Over like a rainbow. As deeply as you like to go to the side, and then we'll be fueled by pressing the seat, the floor, or our thigh away as we inhale through the center. And like a wave, reaching up and over to the other side into a nice, easy side stretch. One more time, we'll repeat, following our breath up and over. And return the favor through the middle, up and over to the other side. So nice so far. With the next inhalation, let's meet up at the top, taking our arms over to one side, grasping onto our leg or the seat behind us into a nice twist, breathing over our shoulder, bring out everything we don't need. With the inhale, we'll just float easily back to the middle, returning to our neutral position, like a mountain, up and over to the other side. Twisting in that a long spiraling spine. Inhaling, always creating length and space before we move into a stretch. Out. And back into the middle. Even it out. And let that release, let the hands sweetly fall down by your sides or in your lap. And if the attention's wandered from your intention, we'll bring it back up. Just a sweet invitation to that awareness. Okay, just feeling a little more length through the spine. I invite you now to take the hands onto the knees. You're sitting in a chair. You'll have them here. If you're standing up, you might want to bend the knees to get that contact. Or if you're sitting down in a cross-legged shape, you can also access the knees. And using the press of our hands against the knees will float our heart up and forward, open up into a nice long cat-like back. Or cow-like back. It's a cat-cow. So this is the cow. Yes, our belly button drawing forward. And then sinking back, the weight behind our heels or behind our sit bones if we're sitting will curl in, nose drawing forward towards our navel. As the exhale happens, inhale to flow through a long cat back. Knowing that every version and variation of the pose is valid. There is no prize for having an extreme stretch here. We're going to take this today as an internal practice to fuel ourselves outside of the practice room, away from the yoga mat. One more time, we'll draw forward with that. And back. And then drawing the tail away from the head, tail and sit bones, heels towards the floor, head floating up towards the sky. Come on back to sensation and to your intention. Speaking of sensation, here's the opportunity to take a bit of intuitive movement. Some circles of one or the other body parts. Maybe it might feel nice to take a circle of the head in this moment. Or as we're listening into what the body wants, maybe it might be nice to take a circle of the shoulders. The elbows, the hands. Just suggestions, no rush. The feet, anything that feels a little bit stuck, like it's not flowing as much as it would be nice, we'll make it a yummy practice. We'll go ahead and send a little breath and send a little movement there now. Working out the kinks, and I'll take this little opportunity also to take off my extra layer because the warm-up is having its intended effect to get me warm. And it's not so warm here, so that's feeling really, really nice. If it's cold where you are at too, hopefully this is getting you nice and warm. If you are still chilly, you could take the hands and rub them together, generate a little heat with the friction. Give yourself a little quick self-massage. And then at the conclusion of those feel good, yummy, intuitive movements, whatever you've chosen for yourself, I invite you to settle back into outward stillness. Bringing our full presence to this practice. We have circles. The next movements are going to be spiralic. We're going to draw the heart forward again into our big cow back or snaggy back forward. And then we'll roll the rib cage around to the side, the back, the side, and the front slowly and curiously, giving lots of care and space to any places that might be a little sticky or stuff. And then using the breath to, a great image I heard recently was jump rope to the back. Such a great image for that spinning and spiraling energy of the swirl. And if you'd like to coordinate the breath, we could inhale as we draw forward and open the belly. Exhale as the belly button draws back. And take another circle or two in this direction. And then we'll slowly and mindfully reverse that direction, churning and mindfully rolling through the upper body as we shift through the lower body, our weight around in that other direction. Bringing attention and massage into our internal environment. Getting some energy flowing through the whole length of our spine. And then on this side, another 1 or 2 circles. You didn't switch, make sure you do. And then settle. We can sort of take those circles slower and smaller and slower and smaller until it's just an echo, just a faint repeat of that spiraling sensation. If we really tune in, and we can become aware of the subtle movement of our spine in an upright posture, I actually notice that there's constant adjustments happening. There's shifts of the weight to the back, to the side, to the front, to the back. And in fact, it's more of a figure 8, a real subtle figure 8 movement. I think we can tap into that now, and if not, just let that image go. Take it if it serves you. And I'm going to leave it, it does not. And that brings me into the next segment of the sequence. So we've been really grounded here in our seat or in our standing position, whatever we've chosen there. The invitation now is to stand up if you'd like to, or if that serves you today, or to stay in an upright spine posture while seated. Or I'll show you a couple things that are sort of a hybrid of both, where we're using something to support us, either a wall or a chair or whatever we feel like using that's in our environment. And you can choose for you what's going to work. So first of all, we'll stand up into mountain or stand onto our sit bones into mountain, rooting down through the whole soles of the feet. You can bring them right underneath your hip joints or bring them wider if that feels nice. Bring them all the way together if that is your cup of tea. And then play a little bit there, either with your sit bones or your feet, shifting forward and back, side to side. If you found a new position, sort of getting grounded into that new position. And then the concept of mountain, which is why we can practice it in any position, whether it's lying down flat on the ground, standing up, or sitting, is rooted length. So we're going to really center energy down through what's supporting us, the feet, the heels, the whole sole of the foot, down through the earth. I'll send my feet all the way down to Hawaii. And somewhere in the Pacific is the opposite end of the earth here. And in the opposite direction, our head will reach up and through the sky, through the atmosphere, out as far as possible, up and down, connected and supported, but really nice and long, nice. And in the full mountain pose or Tadasana, we'll also bring our palms forward. Imagine strength and weight, the immense weight of a big mountain planted onto the earth, and from that place reaching all the way up into the sky. Gorgeous. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I really don't think a Women's Day practice would be complete without some kind of a goddess pose. I already feel goddess-like here, channeling all the greatest qualities that I admire, the heroines that have paved the way in front of us, for International Women's Day and Women's History Month as well. We'll embody them here too, either the qualities that you see within you or those that you admire in others, or both, in this goddess. If you're standing up unsupported, we'll bring the feet out wide and then sit down low. That, of course, could be supported here by a nice bench or chair, or it could be fully reclining. Arms reaching up, and as we bend the knees, also reaching wide through the hands into a cactusy shape or into a V shape, whatever makes you feel the most powerful. From those strong roots grounding down, sending our arms up. I imagine a volcano, and I think goddess, I think Pele, the goddess of fire and white, drying up the liquid molten rock from the sea floor all the way up through to the heights. Bring your full intention to the goddess pose. If you're holding in a freestanding shape, you might feel some tremors in the volcano. You might have a little bit of shake. Support that with breath. Come on out of it whenever you're ready. I'm just gonna radiate my pellet energy for one more moment. And then let that go. Stretch the legs out. If you're standing on up, you can shake it out. Release. Release the tension, the excitement, the energy of that pose, and provide a little rest for yourself along the way while I check in about my intention. Yes, that is the next. So speaking of mountains, our next shape might grow on a mountain or might grow in a flat place. It's a tree. So I want to take an asymmetrical shape that may be challenging our balance if we're standing freestanding, or might be better practiced with help and support from some tools today. So if you're looking for a more restful, rejuvenating, and nourishing practice, I'll just show real quick how one might embody the spirit of the tree on the floor in a reclining shape. We'll keep, it's an asymmetrical shape, so we'll keep one leg reaching along. The other foot will come either to the calf or to the thigh. We could support that with a cushion or a block or something if that's gonna be knee stress on the hip. And either stay sitting up here for my seated tree or lay on back into a reclining shape for your tree today. Like I said, we can use either a chair here with a strong back or a wall for support if we're feeling unsteady today. I notice when I'm practicing on carpet and a yoga mat, it already has a bit of wobble and give, and that's great when I'm trying to develop stronger balance. But if you're feeling unstable and you want to feel more rooted, then use all of the supports that you like. It's an invitation. So tree also has strong roots growing down into the ground, again, either through the sitting bones, the whole length of the back, or one foot. Start by envisioning that now. And then the other knee, like I said, we've got an asymmetrical position. One leg is in parallel, the toes facing forward or up to the sky. The other knee opening up like a butterfly's wing. And then we'll keep the ball of the foot on the floor. Support it with a block or prop it up on the standing leg. Yes, I imagine a tree with a broad trunk and maybe some twists and gnarls from the wind. Rooting down, then you express your tree through the upper body, however it is that you envision. So if the pine tree will take a steeply pointed shape. If it's a palm tree, we'll bring some fronds in, or whatever sort of dynamically moving in the wind tree you might like to embody. Imagining bouncing through one side, deeply rooted, and through the top. We reach up through the clouds and birds of the mountain. And it is a balancing position, so I'm laughing because it's always a little playful, right? Some days more than others. I need to bring some humor to the challenge of balancing, whether I'm talking literal or metaphorical here. And whenever we fall out, we gotta just start back up again. So speaking of falling out, let's come out of that side. Shake it out, neutralize. Loosen up anything that got what's working and activating and maybe a little bit tense through supporting us. And then we'll explore the same shape on the other side, being open to the possibility that since it's an asymmetrical pose, that might be really different on the other side, either the balance or the flexibility or the strength or the what have you. So this time I'm planting that with my right foot that was bouncing over before. I'm going to stand out of my left foot now. It does feel pressure from not supporting on one leg for a minute, but trying to build up on both sides. Through my right foot, I'm peeling the heel off to start to disconnect from the floor, and then either staying somewhat connected or, directly through the floor or the block, or through the standing leg connected. So we feel activity and relationship between the standing leg, the most supportive leg, and then the other leg that's sort of decorative. Yeah, it's contributing. And we'll focus our eyes on the spot in front of us. Our Trishti, our eye gaze is going to help us with the balance. If it's not enough challenge, we can always close the eyes. That's a fun way to challenge the balance even more in any position. Bring breath and intention back to the pose. Compassion. And when you're ready, come on back out of that second side of tree and give yourself any body neutralizing treats that you like. I think of it like a palate cleanser. In between poses, we want to let it sink in, but also sort of take care of what's arising for us in our own body. So that's how you can own that practice. Is what do I want next? What do I really need? What is the body craving? Yeah. I think for the next one, I'm going to sit back down, but let's see. I just got so excited. Yeah. Okay, great. So I am going to show this one fully seated, but you could take it standing for more balance practice. So here's where the people are like, yeah, I wanted a really active, strenuous, strength building practice that I sweat. Stay standing up. If you have already been seated or would like to do this in a more restorative way, we'll sit down or lay down. What I'm talking about here is a figure 4 shape. So it is anatomically, it's a hip stretch, really nice connection to a low back stretch. And the seated position, I'll stay rooted through one foot, just like I did in tree. And instead of resting the sole of the other foot on it, I'm going to cross the ankle all the way over onto the top of my thigh. So seated, it looks like this. Standing, I'm in a chair pose to start with, and then I'll cross the leg over, and either with the help of the wall or something support or without that help. Here is a more strenuously balancing, also for those who are very flexible in their hips, ballet dancers and such version. If you want to play with that, go for it. Or I promised the seated version, here it is. Go ahead and get into the version you want if you've already found it, or if you're looking for that fully reclining version, here it is, sitting on the floor, laying all the way down. It's this keyhole stretch. Yes, those are all the fours. All the fours that I know. If you know another yummy figure 4 stretch, I would be so curious. But we are all arriving in that shape. supporting on one side and then releasing and relaxing on the other side to open a bit like a flower into that shape to the extent that we're able. We'll breathe in to elongate the whole spine and breathe out to fold forward if that's accessible and desired. Otherwise, we'll just keep that energy of length going. If you are suffering and struggling from tightness in your lower back or hip, you can prop yourself up even more and ease out of that a little bit. Don't get crazy with it. We're just going to hold for another breath or two. If you want to support the neck, you can always give your head a little cushion. And then, as your mind wanders, we'll bring our attention back to your intention for this practice today for one more breath cycle. So if you wound up in a deeper forward fold, my suggestion and invitation is to come out slowly, supported by the breath. First, elongating through the spine, and then easing back cross leg, back away from the leg it's crossed onto. And then we'll take some windshield wipering, knee swings side to side as a palate cleanser, as our neutralizing shape or movement in between the sides. If you're on the floor, you can really let those legs fall to one side and do a nice big old twist. If we want to twist all the way through the spine, we can gaze over the shoulder. Ooh, that's yummy. I hope for you as well. And then we'll bring those neutralizing knee swings back to stillness, root through the other side, and come into whatever version of a figure four shape, a nice hip opener on the second side. With no preconceived notions about what it should look like on this side, comparison to what it would like on the other side, what we could do back of the day. I know those are all things that I'm bringing it up because that's all the things that like to come into my mind, at least as I'm trying out some stretches. As those things come up, it's cool. They're there. We welcome them. And then we say, no thanks. I'm going to go back to my intention right now. And pair it with the breath and then go into the stretch, supported like that. Strong through one side and soft and gooey and yielding to on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and quote one of my favorite woman yoga teachers right now, who's on YouTube, Callie Alexander of Chocolate Twists Yoga. That's part of Women's Day, right? Building up other women. She likes to say to send the breath like a soft butter to places in the body where we might feel stuck or stagnant. And I just think that's so yummy and a helpful image for me to smooth over and use the breath to create just a little bit gradual, incremental, more ease. With each breath, we might be able to let something else go. And just as mindfully as we did on the first side of our figure four stretch, we'll come back out of it slowly, with gentle care, with some self-love even, dare I say. Foot massage, since my foot happens to be very accessible in this pose right now. I'll just ease, feeling sensations, ease that leg back off there. And take a couple of easy knee swings side to side. Neutralizing that. Good efforts. Yes. Okay, I know what I want to do next. Do I have time for it? Yes. So far, yes. Awesome. Time management. So that brings me to, it is hand to big toe pose is the sort of traditional translation of it, but we'll take our hand to whatever our hand can get. Pose is what I like to think about it. So again, standing, that will be rooting into one strong leg as we balance onto it. And then we'll take the other thigh, knee, or foot if it's reachable. And that's our standing hand to big toe pose. Seated, maybe it's better from the side, yeah. Seated, we'll have again one foot rooted, both sit bones rooted, and we'll take that thigh up to the degree that we can. Maybe we can reach something. If you can't, use a dish towel, a strap, or a belt. Or if it's just sort of stressful or annoying on the shoulders or something, you could take something to give you a little bit more ease in supporting that leg. And again, as promised, the floor version is going to have an extended or bent lower leg, and the extended big toe reach leg is reaching up towards the sky. Have a little space on either side of you because we are going to move that leg once we get there. Setting up our foundation, whatever it is, our whole back, our seat, or a foot. We'll go ahead and keep the length in our whole spine as we draw one thigh, maybe the right thigh, up towards the chest, towards the heart center, really drawing everything into our core, our powerful center. And then if it works for you and you like it, then we'll reach that leg forward and catch a hold of it where we can. Super powerful pose. I'm actually not able to grab one of my big toe because I've got these cuffy socks on. So I'm just going to grab over the tops of my toes. Of course, folks with shorter arms, this is going to be a challenge. So, of course, there's a big variety of flexibility on this. So, be wherever is going to work for you today here. Take one breath. And then I'll show with the grasping behind the thigh version, we're going to open that leg to the side. So if it's the right leg to the right, getting a little more stretch and openness to the inner thigh side of our leg. And we'll open up through the left side as well. So we'll create sort of a counterbalance, a nice outspread goddess-like pose. Take one breath there. And then we'll switch hands, drawing that leg through the center, keeping it there in the center, or if you can reach it with the other hand, awesome. We will turn the body to face the leg. So drawing that leg towards the center line, we'll then gaze in the opposite direction. I've got my right leg coming across. Show you here, reaching into my left hand. And then I'll see if I can get a little more twist. This is a really big opening on the outside of the leg. I feel that very intensely here. It's nice to give you a little massage there. And we'll look over to that side. If we like, we'll take one more breath here. And then release that completely. Shake it out. If you're seated, it might feel nice to bounce your feet against the floor. Give it a little tap, tap, tap. If you've got cats around, it might drive you crazy. Maybe dogs, neighbors. But it might feel really good too, just to release those feet for a second. If it's standing, we could just do some drops of our heels to get super rounded. Oh, it's so good. And let's return the favor on the other side. Standing, seated, or reclining. No rush, take the transition at your own pace. But when you're ready, we'll plant through the other side. And draw the other thigh, in my case, the left thigh, up towards the chair. Give it a little hug. You can actually embrace it, then great. I believe in literal self-love. Our inner child really likes it too. So as we're breathing, we're continuing to lengthen the spine and draw that thigh any degree closer to the heart. Hamstring, I feel the lower back, getting all stretched out, feeling sensations. Coming back to the intention. Why are we here? And then we'll make a transition. Opening that leg. Again, I'm going to show it with the bent leg to the side. If you're laying on the ground, this is like a half stirrup, happy baby pose. Really nice for some of these deep muscles of the hip. Outer thigh, like I said, excellent for dancers. And then after the next breath, we'll draw the leg back towards our center line. Support that shape with our breath. Switch hands, bring the opposite hand to the outside of the thigh, the foot, whatever we can reach. I'll turn slightly so we can see what's going on there. And create just a little more space to the spine. The breath, riding it again like a wave. And maybe we'll twist into that. And to big toe float. So I should come up with another name for it. A little bit like a star here and see there. We'll go with it. Star pose. Again, if you wanted to massage that outer thigh. The IT band connecting the iliosis. Oh no, to the tibia. Very tight, often in ballet dancers, incidentally. And we'll follow our next breath to release whatever degree of extension we have there. Draw the knee back to the center. Let it all go down. Let gravity take both legs firmly into the ground. And then I'm going to invite the palate cleanser here, since we already wiggled and jiggled and wobbled through the knees and the hips, to be a little shaky, shimmy for the shoulders. If you want to get yoga technical with it, it's a little bit like a Kundalini Kriya, where you're twisting from side to side with breath. If you prefer jazz, it's a shimmy, but we're letting the shoulders fall as we take the whole rib cage side to side. Loosey-goosey, you can take your head too, let your face shake out, release all the muscles of the personality in the face. And look at what is coming next. Yes, that was the hand, big toe. We are on track. So it's like we're in sort of a special workshop type environment today, and I wanted to make sure to situate us within the frame of International Women's Day. Yeah, there's a bit more attention to that than on the physical practice and on meditation and things like that, as there is in my normal classes. But I did want to invite us to do some breath work and also some meditation as part of the practice, because these are really key in receiving the full benefits. So the breath technique that I wanted to teach today is actually also one that I shared in a recent YouTube video of mine. So if you want to ever go back and review it, you can go take a look there. Or maybe you're already familiar with it, but you'll bring fresh eyes and a fresh perspective today. It's Durga Pranayama. And yoga just means, in my understanding, slow. And so we're going to take it slow, but it's also known in English as the 3-part breath. If it's comfortable for you, as we practice this breathing sequence, you'll place hands onto your body to better sense the flow of the breath. You don't want to do that, as always, take it or leave it. This is especially good, though, practice reclining. I find for me that I'm much better able to sense the breath in 3 dimensions, moving through the whole upper body while reclined. But as all other things in this practice, you could also stay seated or standing if that's your preference. In any case, again, softening the gaze or letting our focus fall to the ground, even closing the eyes. There's nothing to see in my practice in this moment, nothing to follow other than the sound. If it's comfortable for you, we'll bring the right hand or a hand down to our lower abdomen. The left hand will rest under the heart center. We also feel sort of the upper chest and the shoulders through that embrace of our hands. I think Yoga Pranayama is a 3-part breath. We're going to envision that we're sending the breath all the way down into the earth, to the base of the tailbone. We know in reality it's going to go down to our diaphragm and our organs are going to get in the way, but they'll move, and we'll imagine that the breath is coming all the way down into the belly as we do that. And then the rib cage and then the chest. So let's start with the belly, shall we? Centering your focus in on the breath. Take a deep drink of breath in through the nose and send it all the way to the lowest regions of the lungs. And once you exhale, we'll contract from the bottom of the lungs, from the belly of our body, to press the air back away. One more inhale, send the breath to the belly. If your breath is slower or faster than mine, don't worry. Just notice what slowing the breath is for you. And with the next inhalation, we'll bring our focus a tad bit higher to the rib cage. It's expanding side to side and forward and back. And then becoming smaller, contracting, squeezing in all dimensions. One more breath, focusing in the rib cage, the side body, all the little muscles in between the ribs, always assisting. And on the next round, we'll bring the breath all the way up into the chest and shoulders. If you want, you can draw the shoulders up. Just get really big and silly. And then let them sink back down, free and loose. With the exhale. All right, we tapped into all 3 regions already, the belly, the ribs, and the chest. Well, now take a couple breaths, letting the focus move like a wave all the way through the body as we breathe. Inhale, sending it down, then wide, then high, the breath. And exhale, releasing air from the low part of our belly, the middle of the torso and top, like a little flat balloon. Again, inhale, belly, Ribs, chest, and exhale. Ribs, chest. Let it go, my friend. Let go that breathing practice for the moment. I mean, if you're really digging it, just keep on going. It's your practice. But I invite you to come back to your comfortable seat and make it even more comfortable if that's possible. And by seat, I mean reclining or seated or standing. If you're seated, if you want to be supported, leaning up against a wall or a chair, so you can relax as fully as possible, that would be amazing. But of course, we'll just relax to the degree that we're able in this current situation that we're in. Again, just for a brief moment, I do like to give longer shavasana, relaxation, and meditation in regular practices, because I think it's really important to this work. But for just a little taste right now, we've found the wave of our breath. It's now moving just naturally. We'll let that process just continue as it does. If you're reclining, you could leave the arms out to your sides in a traditional shavasana. Seated, we could also do that, resting our hands down to the floor. Or just rest the hands in some of the hip joints, relax. Onto the thighs, hands down if you want to feel extra rooted in the seated position. Or palms up if you want to feel a little bit more receptive in this shavasana or relaxation shape, where there's no external movement happening, no poses to see. Kind of like in our yoga practice as a whole, there's still work going on in the background. The breathing is moving through the body, or being buoyed and floating up on breath, or digesting the benefits of our practice. We're continuing to let go of thoughts as they come and go. And coming back to the original intention that we set for this practice. You've landed on something new along the way, and you would like to hold that in your mind's eye, a word or an insight from the practice today. Go ahead and let it resonate. And then you're invited to slowly and gently bring your attention from the internal environment, strengthening, stretching, presence and awareness, back to the edges of the body where we're meeting with the external environment, the world of action and doing. We'll slowly flutter our eyes back open if they've been closed and out of focus. If we're reclining, you could remain there for as long as you have time for today. Maybe set a timer so you don't fall asleep. If you are seated, just take some little gentle movements to reclining. We can wiggle the fingers and toes and sort of notice the temperature of the air in the room and slowly re-enter the larger space. Hear the sounds in the room. I'll actually make a sound to bring back anyone who might have wandered off or fallen asleep, but hopefully we can hear that on Zoom with my symbol. If it's something you'd like to explore further, that intention that you came up with, or your thoughts about that focus of yours might be great fruitful soil for some journaling or some reflective inquiry. I definitely recommend that, and we'll be sending some questions like that in my follow-up email tomorrow for those who were here for the practice, as well as more resources. Of course, tomorrow it won't be International Women's Day anymore. I hope you let me know how you're practicing, what you're doing, what other activities you're engaged in, but it is still Women's History Month, and there's a lot more going on over the course of the month. So if you're interested in some more of those resources and events and things, I'll be sharing some more about that coming up too, as well as, of course, an invitation for you to join me online through YouTube or here in the live classes on Zoom, or maybe even in studio if you happen to be in the neighborhood. And I want to extend heartfelt gratitude to you for showing up today, for yourself, in support of me, but also in support of all the women in your life, and bringing that internal intention that you've set out into the larger world, and being a gift out there in the world, which you are. And yeah, I just thank you so much. Aloha, and I'll be just saying namaste, and thank you. Thank you for joining. You can always email me or reach out to me on social media too. I would be stoked to see you there as well. I hope you feel good, empowered, ready to do the work of equity. All right. Thank you, says everybody in the chat. Thank you. And I'll see you again soon, I hope. And have a great evening or day, whatever time it is where you are at.